see us on the issue of runway intrusions and near misses. I've learned a lot. Then I want to acknowledge both the NTSB and the FAA. In my initial contacts, to be honest, were not as productive as I thought, but subsequent to that, I really appreciate the meeting. So I say this in the tone, first of all, is an acknowledgement there's a problem. And although I get now in regular, this is still followed very closely by the Bay Area media. I was on 2 stations this past weekend and trying to put it in context that we should acknowledge the safety record, but on the other hand, we should be doing everything to make sure that what's happening is not a regression of the means, that we're so comfortable with our safety record that we're not looking at these near misses and learning from them. So, Mr. DeSaulnier, and thank you for your career. I have great admiration for what you've done and the value you've given to the traveling public. So I want to talk a little bit about your most wanted list issue area first. You mentioned that expanding use of recorders, both audio, visual, voice, and other recorders are on your wish list. So could you expand on that? And what is the cost for us to be able to get that, either the private sector or the federal government, to help you with that? And how would that help with these near misses and the runway intrusions?
Well, thank you. Certainly in the 121 airline operation realm, aircraft are equipped with flight data recorders and cockpit voice recorders. The cockpit voice recorders only capture 2 hours worth of information. They are designed with an impact switch. They're really a tool for accident investigation. If the airplane is involved in an accident, it will stop recording and preserve the data. However, in an incident in which the airplane is undamaged, likely power will remain on as passengers disembark, and the next load of passengers will get on board, and very quickly that data is going to be overwritten. So we know that ICAO is looking at a new standard for 2021 to go to a 25-hour recording standard for CVRs. We think that would be very helpful. In the Part 135 realm, we see accidents in which airplanes fall below the threshold of being required to have a flight data recorder. And in airplanes like that, when there is not an optional flight data monitoring recorder, there is no way for a company to understand how that flight is being operated. There's no way to monitor procedural compliance and stabilized approach criteria being met. There's no insight. And the accidents that we've investigated recently, like the one in Akron, Ohio, and a more recent one in Teterboro, New Jersey, show that those airplanes are not being flown in accordance with company procedures. So the push on the 135 operators is to require a low-cost, lightweight flight data monitoring recorder to allow that sort of monitoring.
So just the jurisdictional issues of looking at these near misses and what the triggers are, we've talked to you and looked at, is it the specifics of the airport, why this at SFO we're pushing, we're very busy, we're happy about that, the design of the airports. But it does seem that given all the proper restrictions for privacy and for the good relationships between the operators, the pilots, from a layperson standpoint, if you made sure all of those were consistent, as they are for the voice recorders, you can go to Best Buy right now and get a device that would record the last half hour, so you would at least know that conversation and what the human factors were happening in the cockpit when it happened. Could you comment on that?
Yes, we are seeing companies, operators that are voluntarily equipping their fleets with a device like an Apereo Vision 1000 recorder that does video, audio, and some parameters. And it's a great tool for monitoring flights, and it certainly comes in handy should those aircraft be involved in an accident or an incident.
So it would be helpful?
Yes.
Okay. Anything from the FAA in this regard? Either the intrusions or getting more information from the cockpit?
Well, as was mentioned by Mr. DeSaulnier, we definitely would like to see as much information as possible in order to transpire what occurred prior to accident. And recorders, in this case voice recorder, is one of those tools. There are other ways to be able to decipher what transpired. And at this point, I think we know historically any kind of a visual recording has been quite controversial. And if we decide to go that route, we have to go through the process and deliberation and discussions before we make any policy decisions.
Okay, well, thank you. I want to thank the chairman, too. I recognize again, and I know I've run out of time, the amazing safety record. However, if that 59 feet had finalized in a tragedy, and if it happens in the future, we are all going to be held to account, which I think would be appropriate. So we want to avoid that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair thanks the gentleman from California. The chair now recognizes Mr. DeFazio from Oregon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Barami, I keep hearing about our outmoded radar-based system and how good it could be, and about the space-based ADS-B. Have we deployed an operable, currently operating ADS-B system that covers the entire continental United States and Alaska and part of the Gulf of Mexico? It's a simple question. Have we?